Durag Diaries, yo, what's good, people? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a huge Europa League preview. You've seen many of them before, but this one is a little bit different. We've got Terry from the Football Terrace making his first appearance on my channel. We've done many shows together, but his first time over on Durag Diaries. Good to have you here. How are you doing?
Nervous, mate. I can't even lie. I can't play it down. The closer the game gets, the more nervous I am. Aside from that, though, very good, mate. Very good.
Yes, the sun is out in England. I mean, you've got to be happy. You've got to take it for what it is. I can't lie. I've been avoiding a lot of the Premier League games nowadays. I'm like, do you know what? Forget the stress. I'm going to enjoy the sun. I'm having a little barbecue, have some good food. I don't know about you, Tom, man. Like, you got to enjoy it for what it is. Getting the pub gardens and stuff nowadays, man.
Mate, it's no 100%, bruv. It's the Premier League season can't end soon enough. Although the last day for the fight for Champions League spots looks like it's going to be exciting, and I think it'll be really exciting for one of us come Sunday. Because one of us will be in the Champions League by then. So they'll be, oh, who's joining us? Who's going to be joining us next year in that tournament? And because do you know what? No matter how bad United and Spurs have been, I know that the Champions League is a level up, but we have beaten, both of us, a lot of teams this year that will be in the Champions League next year or are better than a lot of the Champions League teams that were in the league phase. I'm talking. You know, you've got to think about Frankfurt. I think they're going to qualify via their league. Bilbao as an example. These are all Champions League level teams based on their league form. They deserve to be there according to the media. So listen, the Champions League, if we make it, it's a big if here. I'm actually quite excited about it because it might be the only tournament where we win games next season. So yeah, man.
That's the thing about it is we've all been hearing these narratives about Spurs and United. If they win it, they don't. Or, you know, Arsene Wenger saying that we shouldn't be able to qualify into the Champions League in order. And it's funny now that it's Spurs and United in the final. Everyone has a vested interest in which teams are finished in which positions. But like you said there, Frankfurt are going to be in it next year. Bilbao are going to be in it next year. We didn't hear when Arsenal are playing Sevilla and PSV in it this season that those are Europa League teams. They're not. They're Champions League teams this year. And they may or may not be Champions League teams next year. So, look, we all know that narratives are getting painted to suit certain people's stories that they're making. But whoever wins this trophy will deserve to be in the Champions League by right. But also, they could be playing a Super Cup. That's another competition that qualify. And that's the thing. That's what I would like sitting there and I'm thinking, well, look, you may not be good enough for Champions League, but we're going to play Super Cup. And imagine if one of us get the Super Cup too. Because
I know.
They don't call that the Community Shield of Europe. They call that the Super
Cup. No, well, Pep's just made out that the Community Shield's now a trophy. ESPN, nearly all the I know they're doing it to dig out Arsenal. And I know this is Spurs channel, right? But to dig out Arsenal, they're now counting the Community Shield as a trophy. So I'm like, well, I'm down with that in reality, right? Because that means we now become more successful than Liverpool again. So I'm up for that debate. But that's the problem with all these. It's when the problem with the media trying to do fan content is they create a narrative that people will believe it. Well, Liverpool fans going, yeah, the Community Shield's real. Oh shit, United go above us in the medal chart again. But no, on a real level, if whichever one of us wins it, and one of us will, we deserve to be in the Super Cup. We deserve to be in the Champions League because that is the prize for winning this tournament. And unlike the lion's share of participants in the Champions League next season, we'll be one of only a few that are there as actual fucking champions. So, yeah, drop this bullshit that we don't deserve to be there. We do.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. We definitely deserve to be there. And, hey, looking forward to it. I want to take people back quite a while because when I first made one of my first few appearances on the terrace, when me and Terry were just getting to know each other, Ten Hag had come into Manchester United, and one of the things that I was very confident at, I got one thing right and I got one thing right. I said Ten Hag's talent ID was absolutely rubbish. And I think I got that side of things right. I think I won that argument. But one of the big things I did say, and it's gone absolutely terrible for me, is that Spurs would win a trophy before Ten Hag wins a trophy at United. Now, we know how that's gone. Ten Hag has won 2 trophies in the preceding seasons. But now we meet Man United in the final. Just before we get into the Europa League stuff, what do you feel about Amorim's appointment and his time so far at Man United? Because ultimately, to proceed what Ten Hag's done, he has to do something this season. He has to win this on Wednesday.
I'm not putting that pressure on him, although he's doing it himself. He has said himself that when you're a club like Man United, and he means it in terms of the history, the trophies, the expectation, getting to a final, when he says we have to win it, if you listen to the problem is with the media, they quote that and people don't listen to the rest of it. And he essentially said that we won't be remembered for just being in the final. There are certain clubs, and I don't necessarily put Spurs into this category because I think your fans are sick and tired of this. There are some clubs, when we played Villarreal, that never won anything. If they'd have just got to the final and got beat, their fans would still be proud of that, as an example. If Bodo Glimt was there and they lost the final, they'd be proud of getting there. Man United don't have that luxury. That all being said, though, this manager has exposed how bad this squad is, and I'm talking from quality to physicality, the quality on the ball, physicality, and mentality for me. We've seen this team go to Anfield, the best team in England, be the better team for large parts of the game, and barring a Maguire miss at the end of the match, nearly win. We've gone to the Etihad and been the better team and beaten them. Arsenal, second best team in the league. When we played them at Old Trafford only a few weeks back, we really should have beaten them if we had our scoring boots on. We played really well, especially in that second half. And this team can perform. This team can play. We've done it. We just beat a team that are fourth in the league, a 7-1. We have. Well, I want to put this in the context. We haven't scored a goal in open play at Old Trafford since we beat Southampton 3 months ago. I don't just believe that's quality on the ball. I don't believe that's tactics. I do believe a big part of that is players, and they will be sold at some point, and that's where the manager needs help. Some players go, today's a big game. I'm going to give my all. Today we're just playing Ipswich. Today's Wolves. Today's West Ham. Can I find it within myself to raise my levels to the nth degree? And I think that's been a cultural issue at our club that has slowly got worse over a 12-year period. So Amorim does need to improve us. I'm just really patient with it because none of us knew the full extent of how damaged we were, because sometimes you don't know the full damage until you start stripping it all back. Does that make sense? You might have an idea. You might take your car to the garage, it's making some really bad noises. When that mechanic lifts the hood and starts taking things out, it's like, mate, it's not just your engine, it's your alternator, it's the exhaust pipe, it's this, that, and the other. There's hundreds of things. We are so broken, it is unbelievable. Not everyone likes Amorim. That's fair. They're entitled to their opinion. For me, I'm more focused on between the owners and the manager, making this squad of much higher technical ability, much better physical ability, and creating a culture where they know that no matter who the manager is, no matter what the tactics are, no matter if they're happy or sad in their personal life, when they're on that pitch, they give 110% every single week. I think once we become a club that does that, there will be a massive improvement in our results and more consistency of wins, because we spend enough, we pay the right kind of salaries to attract top talent. We're just a broken institution in that way. So I am looking at Amorim, but as I've said about the sacking of every manager at Man United for 10 years straight on socials, just sacking the manager and not addressing those issues, we're never going to be fixed. And every time I say that, it never gets taken seriously. We're on to our 7th manager. So I'm hoping now people start to listen, that fixing the deep fundamentals is more important in the short to medium term than, do you think this manager can get us over the line? I'm not even thinking about that element of our club right now. It's just we are that overweight bloke who's in the gym making sure he doesn't get heart disease. That person shouldn't be thinking on day one, when will I get a 6-pack, bruv? Like, you ain't here for a 6-pack just yet. You're here to stop diabetes, your leg being chopped off, and a potential heart attack at 35. That's literally where my club is. So I get the Amorim stuff, but for me, I just want to is that KJ joining us? Here he is. Yeah, for me, I'm more about fixing those issues.
No, I totally get it. And I suppose one thing you've always been consistent with that, in the sense that I know you said that when you brought in this new manager, you wanted them to stick to their style of football. Like, their style of football was so key to building an identity at Manchester United, because far too often we've seen, especially when in the Ten Hag era, the Ole era, and those two in particular, I suppose you could say, and Ralph Rangnick and the managers in between, they kept adapting their style and their way of playing to suit the players that they had. But the one thing that was consistent that we kept saying to Manchester United fans is the way the players you guys got are not that good. So to continue to adapt to these players, you can adapt as much as you want. The results at the end of it are never gonna give you what you ultimately want, which is to challenge for a title.
But do you know what it is? I love fan content. I'm part of the group of the pioneers that invented this damn thing, bits and pieces of it, concepts, ideas. Very proud of that. The tiring element is the not even the polarization of it, the reductionism that goes in. Well, you wanted Ten Hag out, but you're removing my rationale and reasonings. But I also wasn't saying that if we just sack him, we're going to get better. I've done videos for the appointment of the last 3 permanent managers and said, if we don't have an idea, and it's not even about backing Amorim's identity as a manager and what he likes. It's about we're so broken. We had to pick a manager with a style, and that has to become the club style. It doesn't really, and I was never married to any idea. It could have been a pragmatist, a possession-based manager, a transitional manager. I don't really care. I'm not precious because my wants and desires are not the most important thing. United being consistent is. So for me, it's like I don't even like the narrative. I've got to buy Amorim his players, and we need to buy the right players for the club, right physicality, right technical ability, right mindset that can help the style of football that we have picked to build at the club work. And we have to strip it right back to its bare bones because we're rotten to the core. We really are rotten to the core as an institution, which is sad to be where we are. But people like myself have been predicting this kind of downfall. Maybe not as low as 16th in the league. That's worse than I thought it would be. But we have been predicting this for years. Every time we got into Ollie out, Jose out, Ten Hag out, Ralph out debates, it was okay. I get that you don't like the manager, but these are bigger problems. The manager was never the problem. Fellaini was never the problem. Rooney was never the problem. Pogba, Martial, Rashford, they were never the problem. But too many Man United fans who, look, rightly or wrongly, get a lot of attention online have been pushing the wrong narrative forever. And I'm hoping that the new ownership, the new board of directors, see the wood for the trees, ignore the noise from the people that have been incorrect. By the way, 7 times on the bounce. I'm just putting that out there. 7 times running. The current noisy people, or predominantly the noisy people about Arteta, have been wrong 7 times on the bounce when it comes to managers. Sorry, not Arteta, Amorim. For me, I'm not listening to them, and I hope that Ineos follow suit and they stick with him. They buy him the players he needs. And just actually, literally while we were alive, Sky have announced that Wolves forward Cunha is set to join United after the weekend ends. And players like Cunha, for me, technically brilliant, powerful and quick. Get 4 or 5 of them this summer. Different Man United team next season, in my opinion.
No doubt about it. I think you guys will definitely look like a different team. But just to bring you, KJ, and big up to KJ for joining as well. I asked Terry his thoughts on Amorim, but most importantly, how important this Wednesday is for him. Are you in agreement with Terry that this Wednesday ultimately isn't that important to his job and that you're just more focused on the linear progression of the squad and of the team and his time at Man United? Or do you think that there is a lot of pressure on him this Wednesday? He has to win, but not just to keep his job or to prove to the owners that he's doing a good job, but because, I mean, Ten Hag won in his first season, and it is what Man United do. Man United win trophies.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's as much pressure because at the end of the day, Ineos brought this guy in, and it's a bad look on Ineos if this guy fails within the first 9 months of him being here. So I think Ineos recognize the position that we're in. They recognize that they've failed with the likes of keeping Ten Hag, with the likes of having Dan Ashworth. So for them just to bring a guy in and not even give him a chance with new players, with getting the right players out, getting the right players in, I think that says more about them than he says about Amorim. So I don't think there's any pressure on him to like succeed in terms of this is the game that like decides your fate. Obviously, winning will give him credit in the bank with the ownership. He'll give him credit in the bank with some Man United fans, and ultimately, it will give us more money for the transfer window by being in the Champions League. And that's the real prize here. It's not quote unquote winning the Europa League and having that trophy is the prize for us. It's more of the added benefits of the Champions League and the revenue that it brings for us as we're in the greatest spot financially. So yeah, I think there's no real pressure on Amorim. I'm not putting pressure on Amorim to win this game to secure his job. For me, it's about next season. if you are continuing on this downward spiral with better players, that's when we have to look at you and be like, right, mate, like you may have to move aside and let someone else take the reins. But until then, until that point, until Man United can fix some of the issues that we've got, which since January could only be fixed in the summer, I'm allowing him some leeway to make mistakes because everyone does.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There is a little bit of leeway, but I'll be honest. I think he's done a terrible job. Yeah,
Yeah,
just to be frank, man, he's done an absolutely terrible job. Now, I agree with both of you in saying that it's probably not all the way down to him. I think the timing of when he came in probably wasn't great, and he did say he obviously wanted to wait until the summer, but Man United forced him to come a bit earlier, which, I mean, it's not looking like a great decision at this moment in time. But if you win something, it will be. When I look at how he's faced and how he's tried to provide the solutions, I don't think he's done enough. And I think some of the decisions he's made has been to the detriment of the side, like seeing Rashford go. And although I thought, and I said at the time, I think Rashford just needed a new environment. He just needed a fresh place away from Manchester, in particularly your club. But I do think that Rashford could have been a player at this moment in time when, let's have it right, your attack is so bad. Go on.
But on that Rashford point, what was he doing before Amorim came in? He was not really doing much, And then the season, last season, didn't do much. Obviously, he had that 30-goal season, which we all would hope he would kick on from, and he hasn't. And it's easy to do, especially with Man United. It's easy to do revisionism of, oh, look at this player. He was crap for United, but now he's good. Like, United should never let him go. But people like to forget. But when he was here, you weren't saying that. When McTominay was here, no one was saying Man United need to start McTominay and he needs to play of the week. When Anthony was here, no one was saying Anthony is actually the guy and we need to start him every week and build around him. No one was saying these things. It's until after they leave and they're in environments that suit them, leagues that suit them, their minds are fresh, their confidence is high, they've not got the burden of being a Man United player. That's when everyone's like, oh, why did we let him go? Well, we let him go because he weren't performing for us.
I think as well, I get your point, Jords, from an outside perspective, that Amorim hasn't done a good job. For me, the question is, that's based on what we can see so far.
Yeah.
So, for instance, with certain players like Antony's and Rashford's going out, is it feasible to say that if they would have stayed, we could have scored some more goals, won some more games in this period? The answer is yes. I actually think the West Ham game, I look at the Wolves game, I think Tottenham away, where we had a lot of chances we missed. We could have won some of these matches and been slightly higher in the league. The problem is I don't think those players would have overly improved. I don't think Anthony would have been as good for us as he was for Real Betis. Then what we would have been left with in the summer is, how do we get rid of these guys now? Mm-hmm. They're harder to sell. And I think as football fans, and I get and understand it, typically we look at the here and now, very much to quote the great Eddie Murphy, what have you done for me lately? It's like always like a new thing. If in two, and this is why I'm keeping my feet on the ground when we win. By the way, we win against you guys on Wednesday night. I'm not going to be, I told you, he's going to be the new Fergie. I won't go that far. Equally, if we lose, I don't think it's the end of the world. I am going to judge him in a few proper. Look, if we get 10 games into next season, we lost 9 matches, I would understand why they would get rid of him. But by and large, I would ideally like to give him a few years to build a squad. Then we may look back at this period and go, actually, he had to strip the club. He had to implement a style straight away. And I'll give you an example. When Jose and when Ten Hag, even when Ralph did it in a short space of time, and then Ten Hag, when they tried to implement their styles of football after initially adapting, that was when the kickback begun, and that's when the bad run of form started. Yeah. Now, those squads were actually much better than what we have now. We had a lot more speed, power, and individual brilliance in those teams that I think often kept us higher up in the league table. I like the fact that he has gone in straight away and tried to implement something. I think we've had the same kickback. We've had the same from players, the same poor attitudes. But I think it's better to start that way and add players in that want to play for us than go through 6 months, go through 12 months. The fans get lured into a false sense of security. And then suddenly it starts to go wrong when he tries to implement his style. And we say he's a fraud. He's no good. So I do get how it looks from the outside, that it looks like he's done a terrible job. I'm going to judge that more in a couple of years' time to see where we are. Because right now, it's hope. I am hoping this. I am hoping that what we're seeing is the clear out and all the pain that comes with that before the renovation, before the new house is built. It's like essentially we're in a derelict house and the horrible job is clearing out all the crap and debris and shit that's in one of those houses before you can even start the structural work to build your dream home. We're in the horrible, dirty, dusty phase. And I get why fans they want to be fixed instantly. The problem is we are so broken. It's not even a pipe dream. It's an impossibility to be fixed like that at Man United. So, this summer's massive. The club have got to bring in some real quality players, Cunhas, Mbomos, Edisons. I'm talking that level and above we really need. And if we get them, I think we'll be a completely different side next season. But, of course, it has to be. There is big pressure on him to deliver.
Just briefly on that Cunha signing then, because obviously you touched on the likes of Anthony, McTominay, Rashford, all going abroad and all leaving Manchester United and just looking so much better. They look like new players, new lease of life. Do you not have that worry in the back of your mind that even though a player like Cunha has already played in the Premier League, just like you said there, the pressure of playing Manchester United can get to him? Do you have that worry that some of these players that you're bringing in, especially someone who's not played at a big club before, can have those same struggles that I suppose some of these other players you've mentioned have had?
The reason why I'm not as stressed this time round as I was maybe the season with like Højlund and Mount, and then and after that, and then before that, sorry. I think for the first time in a while at Manchester United that you can see profiles that are needed in the squad and what would make us better. I think many times before it's like, okay, what actually do we need? Well, we need a right winger, but what style of right winger? We don't know. We just need one. We just need a DM. We just end up buying players out of necessity without actually analyzing how well they affect the team. Mason Mount's a perfect example of this. Okay, cool. Ten Hag wanted a midfielder to help with like the pressing and the work rate. But wait, why get Mason Mount, who's at number 10, who's always going to be behind Bruno Fernandes, who's also been on the decline at Chelsea and has injury problems? Why sign him when you've got other players out there who would suit the role better, who would play with Fernandes, so on and so forth? So I feel like the decision making for who we're trying to get makes sense. And I'm a bit more confident of those players coming in and actually fitting into what we're trying to do because there's a plan to it. Now, obviously, it can fail. And I could sit here in 6 months and say Cunha's been a waste of money, but I'm choosing not to go into the summer thinking like that already without the player kicking the ball for us.
It's also this to touch, just to add slightly onto what KJ said. I agree with everything. We're moving slightly differently. A lot of people don't want to admit this or they don't want to recognize it, but we're building a style we're implementing the style of football first. There's been barely a profile of player that we've been linked to, barely an individual where we've gone, oh, why him? Oh, why him? It's been quite universal. The Lap's had a little bit of it because of his age only, not because of his ability and the type of player that he is. But I just feel we're going about it different. Ineos has a lot of pressure on them, though, because they've admitted they got last summer wrong. They didn't have all of their officials in place at all or long enough. They made they went with their guts and just kept Ten Hag. They now admit that was wrong. They should have moved. They should have started what they're doing with Amorim in the summer with somebody new, which meant a lot of the money we spent and invested what ended up being a mistake. Because I don't know how many of the players we signed Amorim and the way we're now playing football would attract. De Ligt maybe, because I know he kind of likes him. Yoro, I think, is someone that we'd go for, but I don't think. I mean, Ugarte is probably someone he might look at because he had him at Sporting, but I didn't think that. I think he would look at it and go, "I had Ugarte at Sporting because it was Sporting." Is there a faster, quicker, more technical version of a Ugarte in world football? I'm sure there is, right? I'm sure we could sit here and name them. Would he rather have gone for that if he was there in the summer? Massively. I'm massively sure that is a possibility. So I just think we're operating slightly different now, which is why I'm not as stressed. Equally, though, we end up buying a load of junk this summer that doesn't suit what we need. honestly, I'll be at a point then where there's just no hope. It was because of where we are in the league, the financial problems. If we waste £200 million this summer on absolute jokes, there'll be no defending it. There'll be nowhere to go. It will just be, well, this is going to foul. We're in big trouble, and we might get fucking relegated. Genuinely, if we have a bad summer and we just end up buying
if
trash,
that scenario happens, that's when I'm advocating for Amorim to go, because not because he's crap, but because it's like he's not a manager you bring in to fight relegation battles. He's not a manager you bring in.
That's when I want. That's when we need Sean Dyche to adapt to the players and save us. Yep. Genuinely, that's where we'll be if we go out and buy more trash this summer that doesn't suit what this manager needs, what this team needs, what this club needs. Yeah, just bring in Sean Dyche, bring in Sam Allardyce, get
Sean Dyche in, get the low block. Just start protecting points and getting clean sheets. I mean, Everton have got loads of clean sheets this season. So, hey, maybe a Moisey. Maybe he's having a good end to the season. Maybe he can have his second spell at United. But nah, to be fair, I don't see it going that way. I look at you guys and say, with the Cunha signing, that's a very smart one, because I mean, he plays across all the three positions that Amorim needs in that front line. And if you keep doing signings along that sort of type of player, one that's going to fit within his system, but also someone that can play across few different positions, that he could fit for another manager if needed, I think you guys will be on a good track. But I think one thing that you guys can benefit from away from this winning this, or whether you don't win it, and very different from Tottenham, is you don't need the Champions League football to attract these types of players. Like Cunha's not going to choose Nottingham Forest or Aston Villa, who may have European football over a Manchester United. You guys have that luck, whereas I don't think Spurs are in that same position at this moment in time. And that's what I wanted to come to you guys next with, because of course our managers had an absolutely terrible season as well. Ange, he's lost the fan base, he's lost himself. And at this point, it seems like he's playing to prove to the journalists that he always wins in his second season. He's just waiting for that one moment where he could correct the journalists again and say, I do definitely always win in my second season. Do you guys think that, I suppose from an outside point of view, because you guys had it last year, Ten Hag didn't have nowhere near as bad as a season as Ange's having this year, but had a fairly bad season on Man United standards, but managed to win a trophy, so brought himself some time. Do you think Tottenham should go about it the same way, or should we learn from what happened to you guys last year and ultimately sack him for his league performances, whether he wins the competition or not?
You want to go, Terry?
No, you go first, mate. Go on.
Yeah, I think this season shows that as much as if you do win a trophy, it needs to go, because one thing with Man United I can say is like, okay, cool, our manager's not done well, but our squad is crap. Like we can all say our squad is rubbish. With Spurs though, and I've been saying this and I will keep saying this, your squad is definitely not that bad. Now your squad is definitely not a 16-player squad. You've got some very talented players in there. And if you guys if Levy actually invested, you guys could be a team that's always challenging for top 6 and top 4 and maybe challenging for, again, more trophies than you are now. So I believe you got a good squad, but the manager has just lost his head this season. I don't know why. I don't know what changed. You probably could tell me a bit more as a Spurs fan what's really happened in the season, but for some reason, he's just lost his mind. And when managers get what I call manager head loss, where they start fighting with the fans, when they start just giving really strange, passive-aggressive answers to journalists, for me, that's when I know, like, yeah, they're done. You know what I mean? They're done at this club, because it just doesn't seem like the guy has got everything together to lead this team into the future. So yeah, I think there are many managers out there that would look at Spurs and your squad and be like, yo, like I could do plenty with this. You know what I mean? I could definitely do plenty with this. So yeah, I think if you guys sack him, or if he leaves with or without the Europa League, I think that'd be good for Spurs. And it'll just be then down to who you guys get. You've been linked to many people, like not Allegri. Inzaghi is the funniest one I've seen you guys linked to, but
I saw that link one time and I started pulling Mo's strings and saying, when you lose the league, we've got that ball. He did not like it.
But yeah, there's a plethora of managers I think that would be willing and available to join Spurs. So yeah, I think strike while the iron is hot, especially after a Europa League win. Go and get that next guy to hopefully take you to the next level.
Yeah, league form is everything. And although, again, you know, I said about 10, 15 minutes ago, everyone tries to play Mr. Reductionist and be polarized. Well, you want to give Amorim time, but you're not going to do the same for Big Ange. Well, Big Ange has been there 2 years. Big Ange has had on the squad that he has got, there's been the better part of £500 million spent on that squad, and you're sitting 17th in the league. Where I have sympathy is I don't think your club has bought the right kind of players that you need. I don't think the squad building has been good, and I'll keep that same energy. But my view on Ange has been the whole time, it's a marriage made in hell. I think he doesn't like you lot, as in the fans. Ever since the, you know, we're City for one day, or whatever that song was you were singing, the city, you know, he looks at it as we had the chance. I think he looks at it, that fan, if your crowd was behind Spurs that night, could you have beaten them and then qualify for the Champions League, which Spurs fans today are all going, oh, we're in the Champions League, more money to spend on the squad. That left all your thoughts last year because Arsenal might win the league. And I just think Ange looked at that and just went, you're putting your own club's future at risk to stop at somebody else winning. And I just don't think he got it. I think he hates a lot of you. I don't think he's very fond of Daniel Levy and co. And that's why it's not about the league position by itself. It's the fact 2 years there, £500 million or so, just under £500 million spent. His relationship with the fans, relationship with the owners. As a collective, you guys have got to move on because you're not the 17th worst squad in this league. You're just not. You're not. Even if you sign no one this summer and kept the exact same squad, you bring in a decent manager. If you had Areola, your team goes back into that top 8. You go back into the top 8 next season. In my personal opinion, you win on Wednesday and have that Champions League money. Add more to this squad, and I'm not saying you'll be a threat and you're going to win the league, but you'll be right up there in that top space again. You're not as bad as your league position suggests, and I just think there is such a disconnect there. So for me, you guys, you could win it 5-0, you could lose it 5-0. I think if your club's sensible, you Frank Ange, you do the bus parade, you do whatever you guys are going to do, and then you let him go. That's my view if I was a Tottenham fan, because I just can't imagine how it's going to be that much better next year. I think it'll be better because you'll spend money and you'll have a better team. Yeah. But I think there's something broken, if that makes sense. It's like you got a mate, him and his girlfriend. You're like, you guys have just got to break up. You know what I mean? They're out on a day out. Yeah. You hate when they both come out together because you're like, oh, once one of them's had a drink, it's going to go off later and ruin the night. That's how I see you guys. You know what I mean? I don't even think he's a bad manager and coach. I just think it's the wrong mix. Does that make sense?
I think like Spurs need to go back to their roots of you sign the managers that are like up and coming, as in like they're ready for the next step of club size to boost their career, but not too much of a step where they demand winning. So I think it's gonna sound weird, but I think Ange is a manager like too early, or scenario too early. He should be coming in at this club when you guys are like fourth, like third, like when you're pushing.
Yeah,
because he's used to that whole thing of I just win, and you know what I mean. And he's in that mode, and he probably is clashing with Levy, saying, "Bruv, I'm ready to win things with this club. Give me what I need." And Levy's like, "Nah, mate, we don't do that here." Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
that's it exactly. And I feel that's how I felt a lot when I was back in Ange and I was in the Ange in camp. That's how I felt a lot of the time. I felt like if he'd come in at a point when you had a really good team, a team that was ready to compete, sort of where Arsenal are at right now, like they're ready to compete, but I feel like they just need another manager to take them that next step. I feel like he'd be a good manager to do that because he knows how to get a team together, galvanize them, and play a good. When he's going forward, Tottenham do have a good attacking style of play at times. When we were actually playing good and the team were really invested in him and his football was going the right way, then it looked good. But it's like you said there, Terry. I feel like so many things, and KJ, you said as well, there's so many things that have gone wrong throughout the season now. Like he's definitely lost for me the fans. The fans is the biggest thing. He's tried to start fights with a few fans now. He doesn't like, and one of the things the fans just said was just like, it's not good enough. And he's turning around trying to like have a word with him. And it's like, what do you expect the fans to say? Do you expect not to get like The guy wasn't even hurling abuse at him. He was just telling you you're not doing your bloody job. And if you're, let's have it right, if you're in a normal job and you're not doing your job, you're going to get called up from it by whether it's your manager, whether it's someone else, you're going to get called out for it. And when you're a Premier League manager at one of the biggest clubs in the world, because let's have it right, you know, Spurs may not be, whether people want to have us as trophies and so on, Spurs are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's his biggest job. You're going to get scrutinized for it. And I feel like he needs to learn to deal with that better to then take on a job at this level. So for me, yeah, I don't want Ange to stay. I'm fed up of seeing the football and the performances and the lack of plan B. And the only point when we have had a plan B now has been due to the injuries. It's just not going to work for me. I feel like we need so many players to fit his system. It's this summer, like you said, Terry, go back to basics. Get a manager who's a proper coach. Someone who's a bit more, you know, like Spurs. Maybe we've just seen Ajax lose Farioli. Maybe a manager like him, someone who can come in and just focus on the coaching aspect and then leave the sport. We got Paratici on his way back. Leave him to the sporting director.
He's out on parole now, is he?
He's out on parole. He's back. He's allowed to sign. So it looks like what's his name? Johan Lange is going to get shipped off and pushed back to the side, and Don Paratici is going to take over our transfer operations. And look, with Ange out of the picture, I think that we could, with the right manager again, we can get Spurs back into a good position. Because like I said, we're not the 17th worst squad in the league. I think with the right manager, we get right back into that top 4 race next year. But again, the right signings are needing to be made and the right acquisitions. But moving forward into this Europa League final itself, you know, Tottenham versus Manchester United. We have beaten you 3 times this season. And to actually have it right, you guys haven't beaten us since 2022. Since Ronaldo was a part of your team, you guys haven't beaten us. So we've had a decent record against you now. With that in mind, it would be very Spursy to have a record like that and still lose to the team in the final. But how are you guys feeling with regards to the confidence in your actual team to get the job done? Because I suppose
that's where there isn't, like, I'm backing us to win in the sense of, come on guys, let's do it. I'm going to predict United win. I'm going to speak bluntly about this. There's no rule. You can speak a bit of tactics. I'm trying to put it into the ether. I'm trying to will it into existence. You know, this is not a good. I actually had someone on my channel earlier say, Terry, you're an idiot. Brilliant teams win trophies. Everybody else is just losers. I went, well, Man United and Spurs, one of them is going to win a trophy on Wednesday. Neither of us are brilliant. And that's where it comes from. If we had a good season, we were 4th, and you lot were 17th, and it's a final, your record in finals versus ours, I'd be so confident. I was the night we won the semi-final. I thought, come on, we 100% can win. My confidence since then has dwindled, and some of that is the nerves of losing. Equally, I don't want my players going into this final thinking it's Tottenham, guys.
Yeah,
no, I don't want the players thinking that in any capacity whatsoever. So I feel as fans, we need to show them, and this is my view on it, we can beat you, we can win, we have got a chance. However, we need to fight for every inch, we need to fight for every chance, we need to defend for our lives, and we need to be focused for 100 for maybe 120 minutes of this game. We have got to be on point because it's going to be a difficult game. This is not going to be a walk in the park for Man United. And typically, we've had in my lifetime 4 or 5 finals. Smashed Chelsea 4-0 in an FA Cup final once. You know, we've had, we had like Wigan and Millwall's in some cup finals in the middle of the noughties. But by and large, and Newcastle 99 FA Cup final was pretty easy. 2-0 scoreline, but pretty easy, the game. We really were in control. Outside of that, nearly every single one of our finals ends up being a dogfight, stressful, painful. So I'm prepared for that, but I want the players to be. So I think my attitude is almost like a reflection of, I don't want the players going on socials, as we know they do, going, oh, look, everyone thinks we're going to smash it. We got this, guys. It's Tottenham. It's easy. And that's why I implore, I know a lot of United fans do it it's this double-edged sword, isn't it? If I give it the big one and say we're going to win easy, and then we win, I look like a hero. If we lose, I get clipped up and go viral. I just don't like that shit. I can't. Sometimes I go, I'm going to do it because it'll go viral, right? Yeah, I'll do it for a laugh. Comes down to it, I'm like, nah. I'm staying humble. Spurs have got a very good chance. United have got a very good chance. We have just got to be at our absolute best. I'm going to encourage the boys. I'm going to get behind them 110%, but no arrogance, no complacency, no thinking it's just Spurs. Because if we go into the game thinking that,
Yeah,
we'll lose. We lose.
Yeah, I feel sick, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Every time I think about it, I feel it's just so much. There's so much riding on it as a fan. Let's ignore like the clubs for a moment, and just as a fan of each club. For me, there's so much riding on it because we can't be the team that allows Spurs to win their first trophy in years. The team that does that, I think, actually should consider folding. You know, like especially an English team. I can't do it. I'm not confident in my team in terms of I've seen how we play this year. I've seen the mentality of these guys. And yes, they can rise up to the occasion occasionally, but more than often than not, they crumble. They've crumbled in the Premier League. They had moments of crumbling against Leon. And I don't know when that's gonna come back or not. So I'm just hoping that doesn't. And if we don't, then we have a good chance in doing that. But yeah, for me, there is no logic to this game. There's no thing you can tell me that says logically either team can win. That's gone out the window because how bad we both have been. And it's all down to just on the night. Just on the night. That's all I can say. Just on the night, whoever's ready to rise will rise. Whoever can handle the pressure will handle the pressure. There's no, if Amorim plays an inverted centre back here and does this, that, there, we're exposed. No, there's none of that. It's just pure.
I actually think as well, I think both teams will turn up. I think both teams, and look, people can tell us the levels low. I don't give a shit. It's actually an even game because we're both not very good. So what we haven't got here is Man United at the peak of our powers versus a Tottenham team that are 17th, where the expectation would be, United, even if you win in a scrappy 1-0, you're going to get criticised. But I actually think both teams are going to turn up and play quite well by our current standard. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think both teams will have chances. I think both teams will have moments in the periods of the game where they're in authority. Why? Even this season, you beat us 3-0 and then 4-3 and then 1-0. You actually go back and watch those games. First game was a little different because of we got the red card as well. Even then, we had chances. You go back to the 4-3. We concede early, have chances. Then you go 2-0 up, and then it's 3-0, and we come back into the game. The 1-0 game was exactly the same. You had chances. We should have scored. Then you could have scored. Both teams will have periods where they dominate the ball, dominate proceedings. It's going to come down to, and I know I sound like Michael Owen, cliched. It's going to come down to that clinical edge, or whose goalkeeper or defender makes a mistake. I think it's going to either be, oh, wow, Bruno had them 2 big chances and took them. Solanke had those 2 chances and took them and they won. Or it was so even and then Onana threw the ball in his own net. It's going to kind of be a little bit like that, if that makes sense. Because we both got that. We probably got it worse with Onana, but I think we both have that with our keepers where there can be some moments.
Little slip-ups. There's always that moment, man, where either of them show their weakness. And it's like you said there, I think this is the first time in a long time, I suppose, there's 2 teams in a final that are generally so close together, like 16th and 17th in the Premier League. You couldn't get a closer final. I think
and it's not in a good way. If it's not like it was first and second.
No, 100%, it's not in a good way.
It's
but
so
even that, when we saw like Chelsea versus City in the Champions League final, there was a disparity between the level of teams. Tottenham and Liverpool in the final, there was quite a gap between the teams in the Champions League. When this final now is the first time you've seen 2 teams literally head to head, very close. Tottenham, for us in particular, we haven't faced a team that's not better than us in a final for over 20 years, like going all the way back to probably even when we first Blackburn in like 01-02 or something like that in League Cup, they were better than us at that point. So we generally don't come up against teams that are a similar level to us in the final. As I suppose you could say Spurs' final record is that bad because we just don't turn up in those days. But I do agree with you guys. I think that no amount of tactics is going to set either of the teams up right. I think Spurs are missing some of the key players to even put us in a good tactical setup with no Maddison, no Bergvall. Bergvall's pushing hard to make it, so hopefully Bergvall can make it, but he's definitely not going to start. And no Kulusevski. Those are the 3 players you'd expect to make some of the adaptations to how we could set up tactically. And then I suppose Kulusevski and Madders were man of the matches in 2 of the Premier League games that we did play against you. So when you look at it on that side of things, you can't look at the tactics or look at the other games and take too much from it. You've just got to look at which team is going to want it more. I think a lot of people have said this game's going to be played on passion. It's going to be down to the effort each team puts in. And I suppose for us in particular, I've got a lot of questions. It's been a while since I've seen a good performance of Spurs in the final. And the reason I want to win this one, as many people don't know, my first heartbreak never happened with a female. It happened in the final of the League Cup in 2009 when I thought Spurs were winning. One of the best Man United sides I've seen. We're taking them to the extra time, took them to penalties. I think it was a 0-0 game up until then. And he had Ben Foster in goal, a reserve goalkeeper at that point, a reserve/youth goalkeeper, got chucked in for the penalty. He saved about 4 penalties. At that point, I was like, nah. This is not meant. Like, I remember I was crying that day. I was a kid. I was sitting there. I was like, no, like, how can like, this is so Spursy that reserve goalkeeper is going to save all these penalties. So it means a lot to me.
And we didn't play a complete reserve team, but like with that day, we had like Darren Gibson started, O'Shea started at right back, a young Johnny Evans started, Welbeck started, you know, we didn't even have, like, Rooney wasn't in the squad. Cristiano Ronaldo started the game, to be fair, but the bench that day, right, was Rodrigo Pozibon, Son, Anderson, Richard Eckersley. That was in smaller benches as well. So we didn't even have our strongest like team and squad. I don't even know if Michael Carrick wasn't even in the match day squad. So we kind of rotated because we were trying to win. Yeah. We were actually kind of going for the quad that year. I think that was the season when we went out to Portsmouth. In the FA Cup, maybe just after that, but like, we got to the Champions League final again that year. We were going for the quad, and I remember being nervous about that starting 11 and the bench. We have a little bit missing here and there. And if my memory serves me right, I feel like you guys were the better team as well. If my memory serves me right, and you could have won it, but we saved 2 of your penalties and we scored all 4.
I genuinely remember just sitting there. I was so flabbergasted, and from then that was when I was like, nah. Now this is my payback day. I've been waiting nearly 20 years for this, to beat Man United in the final, and then say that we done it. I got my lick back finally. But just before we wrap up, I suppose, what are your guys' score predictions for the game? Do you guys think there's going to be a lot of goals in it? Because we said that it's going to be entertaining. But I suppose, look, the one thing our teams do lack in this is quality. Our teams lack quality, whether that's in the final third or whether that's defensively. There's a lack of quality on that pitch. Do you think that's going to go on the wayside where it's going to be a lot of goals, or do you think that's going to make it
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think each team will get 1. I think we're both capable of scoring 1, but I don't know. I do think the nerves for both sets of players will just kick in, and it would just be a game of I'm not trying to make a mistake more than I'm trying to win the game, me personally anyway. So if that happens 1-1 and it goes to penalties, then it's a lottery, and who knows what will happen. Anything can happen in that sense. But the thing that's, again, this is nothing to do with football on the pitch, but the football this year, there's something in the air which I don't like. The underdogs are winning these trophies, and specifically Birds are winning the trophies, buds. Yeah, the Eagle, Go Ahead Eagles in the Dutch league. You had Crystal Palace, the Eagles in England. The Magpies won the League Cup, and also obviously I don't
even know what Liverpool's is. It the Phoenix?
Lava Bird or something like that. But a Bird won the league, so. Yeah, all it needs now is the cockerel to complete the set, and man, it's just.
Do you know what? There's loads of omens in Tottenham's favour, but then it's like looking at it the other way as well, where you're like, it's the year of the underdog. Well, Man United were the favourites at the beginning of the Europa League after match week 1. By match week 2, up until the end of the semi-finals, Spurs were the favourites the whole time. Now Man United are marginally the favourites again, and I'm not too sure what their thinking is in that. Maybe it's who we beat in the semis versus who you beat. I'm not too sure what they've put that on, but we haven't you've beaten us 3 times on the bounce. There were some omens already the other day. Like the last time we played in the Europa League final, we'd lost to a certain team 3 times on the bounce and then beat them in a final. Neeks mentioned it yesterday. I can't remember which
Oh,
final.
it was City, innit? City last year.
Last year beat us 3 times. And then so there's omens in our favor. I get the bird thing and the underdogs. At the same time, are all the underdogs and birds going to do it? There's always like it would be very Spursy. So I just
that's what kills it. KJ, I always look at that side. I'm like, it's all. Do you know what? All these birds are winning it. It's gonna be Spurs, the only bird not to win. Like that is the most Spursy thing possible. It's like all the underdogs win and we don't.
Here's my thing with it. Spursy is going to end at some point, surely. Like surely, and this is what I'm scared of. If this was, you know what? If this was Spurs against another club, I'm probably just like not worried. I'm like, yo, screw it. Like it is gonna be Spursy to do all of that. But because it's my team and the position that we're in.
Yeah.
I just it can't. I just can't see it, man.
100%. It's just one of the reasons why a lot of the top pro fighters won't fight Jake Paul because they probably beat him. But can you imagine if he catches them and beats them? It's over for them. They're done. So there is this element of, I ain't scared of fighting you. I don't think there's any super middleweight or light heavyweight boxer who's legitimately looking at Jake Paul and gone, I'm scared he'll beat me. But there is always that, what if he catches you? If he catches you and knocks you out, you could never live it down.
Woodley. Like everyone started looking at his UFC career funny now. They're like, greatest heavyweight and what way of all time? Never.
It's true. And I think that there is that little element in this game. And I don't even mean this disrespectfully to Tottenham because I don't think it's about you. It's about everybody outside of Tottenham's perception of us.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to be the team. Like I said already, if you guys would have won the League Cup last season or, if you won something else, I wouldn't feel like this. I just don't want to be the team. Do you know what I'm saying? But all that being said, I just think it's the typical build up to a final, feeling nervous 1 minute. Then I'm visualizing seeing the trophy be lifted. Then I'm seeing Spurs lift it. And I'm like, it's great though. Like end of the day, it has been a shit season. The one silver lining is there's the potential for one of us to have a bit of joy at the end of it. And there will be, if we win it, there will be some joy because let's just have it right. In the Europa League this season, we have both played pretty good and deserve to be there. So, there's no taking away. I won't try and take that away from you or us. I think we deserve to be there. And there could be a little bit. Well, one of us is guaranteed some silverware. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, guaranteed. And this is the first time, again, I'm going into this. Like I say, it's nerves, but it's like a good nerves. Like I actually feel like we're on the brink of something special. But when I was talking about the goal-wise and predictions, I personally want this to be a very low-scoring game. Don't want it to be high-scoring. I don't want my adrenaline, my heart to be going up and down. I don't want to be jumping left and right. I don't want to be... Because, like, watching you guys game against Leon, that's my worst. I don't want that. I don't want it to be... Even if we won that game, I don't want to be going through that. So I hope that it's an entertaining final, but I want the scoreline to be low, and I hope it's just a 1-0 or a 2-1 very small scoreline game because otherwise it's going to be a bit too much to keep up with my heart. What about you, Terry? Do you think it's going to be high scoring?
I'm going to go 2-1. I went 2-1 yesterday. That preview's out on the Football Terrace. I was going to release it tonight, but the football's on, so I'm going to do it tomorrow morning. That's coming out. So I'm going to stick with the same score. I know 2-1 to United. Late goal, I think wins it. I think it's be one of those games. But I'm going to go with United to win it. Late goal. Yeah, nervous as hell, man. Nervous as hell.
That's what will be good. A goal in the last 15 minutes. One then wants to galvanize the team and just give you that feeling and going into the end of the game that it's done. But yeah, man, look, people do keep a lookout for that preview on the terrace. I've got the terrace. This name is in the channel. I'm sure you guys know it, but to go to the terrace, you literally click the link in the name of the video or in the description. They also have the Football Terrace Extra where they do some analysis and some clips and some other stuff. So keep an eye out for that. But there will be a video featuring myself, KJ, and Terry. It's going to be a bit better visuals than this. It's not online, so I can't give you too much, but it's going to be better visuals than this. So
I can actually share because I've got it open in a file here. Let me just share my screen for a second. Will it let me?
Yeah, we'll let you share screen.
That's what made it look like a cinematic experience.
Why can't I find it? Let me just do the screen. That's probably easier. There we go. So yeah, put it up. This is you put it up on your screen now. Yeah, that's us outside the stadium. Yesterday filming. Let me just turn the sound off so that it doesn't go all weird. But yeah, that's That's us yesterday outside the stadium. The preview. So that'll be out tomorrow on the Football Terrace. So yeah, looking good. I definitely need to lose some weight though, bruv. Seeing myself down like, yeah, I've got to lose some weight. Well, I am losing weight. I've got to lose more. I've got to lose more. Do you know what I mean? So there we go.
It's a journey. Just like with Amorim, it is a journey. And just like with Ange, it's a journey. You just can't skip no steps. But keep a lookout for that video, people. Tomorrow morning, it will be released on the terrace. And until then, big up to everyone that's been inside. Make sure you smash a like button on your way out. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, Durag Diaries. You can see above my head, we're on the road to 2K. We're real close. I think like 1.75 or something like that. So make sure you show some love, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, man, we'll be back later, 6:30 or 6:45. We got another preview loaded up. Sunshine, Sophia, and Christina from Last Word of Spurs. So keep a lookout for that. And until then, we'll see you soon. Big up, everyone.
Cheers.